Yes. I go over.
Hi,
Hi,
Matthew.
Rosie.
I'm glad
I'm
you
glad
could come
you
in
can
today.
come in today.
You've been
You've
observing
been
Mr.
observing
Grable's
Mr.
third grade
Riley's
class for your approaches to education paper, right?
Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yes.
go over to
I
Johnson
go to
Elementary
Johnson
School,
Elementary
you know,
School,
to
you
watch
know,
Mr.
you watch
Grable teach
Mr.
the
Grable
children in
teach the
class.
children in
It's
class.
been
It's been
amazing. I
amazing.
mean, I'm just learning so
just
much from
learning so
just
much
watching
from
him.
just watching
I'm
him.
so glad that
I'm so
classroom
glad the
observations are a
classroom
requirement
observations
for the
are
education
required because
program.
it was
I
amazing
mean, it's
program.
like the
It's
best
like
thing
the
ever
best
to
thing
prepare
ever
you
to
to be a
prepare
good
you to
teacher.
be a
Well, I'm
teacher.
glad to see you feel that way, Matthew. You know, that's the goal.
That's the goal.
So, I've been reading over your
reading over your
observation notes,
observation
and I'm
notes, and
quite
I'm
interested
quite
in what's
interested in
going
what's
on,
going on.
in particular
In
with the
particular, was
astronomy
the
unit he's
astronomy
been
unit
teaching.
he has been teaching.
The astronomy unit?
Yes,
It seems that Mr. Grable has mastered the interdisciplinary approach to teaching that we've been talking about in class.
Oh,
No,
okay. Yeah, so like when he was teaching them astronomy, he didn't just teach them the names of the planets. He used it as a way to teach mythology.
Really? So how did he do that?
Well, some of the students could already name the planets, but they didn't know that the names had any meaning, the stories behind them.
So
He introduced Greek and Roman mythology as a way of explaining. Like, you know how, like, Jupiter's the biggest planet, right? And how Jupiter was the name of the king of the gods in Roman mythology, right? So, since Jupiter, the planet, is the largest planet in our solar system, it's like the king of the planets, like Jupiter was the king of all the gods.
Oh, Matthew, that's a great example.
Yeah, and each student chose a planet and then did research on it to write a report and make a presentation. They went to the library to do the research. Then they made presentations about the planet they chose.
So, in one science unit, in which the focus was astronomy, the students also learned about the literature of Greek and Roman mythology, used research skills in the library, wrote a report, and practiced their oral presentation skills.
Exactly. He used this one topic to teach third graders all that stuff, how to use the books in the library, to write reports, and even how to speak in public. Plus, they had a great time doing it.
You know, Matthew, this is just what we've been talking about in our class. I'm sure everyone could learn something from your experience. You know, Matthew, I'd love for you to talk about this astronomy unit in class on Wednesday.
Really? Because I don't really think I'll have any time to write my paper by then.
Oh, you won't need to write anything new just yet. For Wednesday, use your class observation notes and explain the things we've discussed today.
Okay. That sounds all right.
Okay, that sounds all right.
Hi, Matthew. I'm glad you could come in today. You've been observing Mr. Grable's third grade. Okay, we've been talking about early agriculture in the Near East, so let's concentrate on one site and see what we can learn from it. Let's look at Çatalhöyük. I better write that down. Çatalhöyük. That's been talking about early agriculture in the Near East, so let's concentrate on one site and see what we can learn from it. Let's look at Çatalhöyük. I better write that down. Çatalhöyük. That's about as close as we get in English. It's Turkish, really. The site's in modern-day Turkey, and who knows what the original inhabitants called it. Anyway, Çatalhöyük wasn't the first agricultural settlement in the Near East, but it was pretty early, settled about 9,000 years ago, the Neolithic period. And the settlement, town really, lasted about 1,000 years and grew to a size of about 8,000 or 10,000 people. That certainly makes it one of the largest towns in the world at that time. One of the things that makes a settlement of this size impressive is the time period. It's the Neolithic, remember, the late Stone Age. So the people that lived there had only stone tools, no metals. So everything they accomplished, like building this town, they did with just stone, plus wood, bricks, that sort of thing. But you gotta remember that it wasn't just any stone they had. They had obsidian. And obsidian is a black, volcanic, well, almost like glass. It flakes very nicely into really sharp points. The sharpest tools of the entire Stone Age were made of obsidian, and the people of Çatalhöyük got theirs from further inland, from central Turkey. Traded for it, probably. Anyway, what I want to focus on is the way the town was built. The houses are all rectangular, one story, made of sun-dried bricks. But what's really interesting is that there are no spaces between them. No streets, in other words. And so, generally, no doors on the houses either. People walked around on the roofs and entered a house through a hatchway on the roof, down a wooden ladder. You can still see the diagonal marks of the ladders, a hatchway on the roof, down a wooden ladder. Entered a house through a hatchway on the roofs, and entered a house either. People walked around on the roofs and entered a house through a hatchway on the roof, down a wooden ladder. You can still see the diagonal marks of the ladders in the plaster on the inside walls. Once you were in the house, there would be one main room and a couple of small rooms for storage. The main room had the hearth for cooking and for heat. It would have been pretty cold during the winters.
House.
And it also looks like they made their tools near the fire. There tends to be a lot of obsidian flakes and chips in the hearth ashes. But no chimney. The smoke just went out the same hatchway the people used for going in and out themselves. So there would have been an open fire inside the house, with only one hole in the roof to let the smoke out. You and I would have found it a bit too smoky in there. You can see on the walls, which they plastered and decorated with paintings, they ended up with a layer of black soot on them, and so did people's lungs. The bones found in the graves show a layer of soot on the inside of the ribs. And that's another unusual feature of Çatalhöyük, the burial sites. The graves have all been found under the houses, right under the floor.
Burial.
And it may be this burial custom that explains why the houses were packed in so tightly without streets. I mean, you might think it was for protection or something, but there's been no evidence found yet of any violent attack that would indicate that kind of danger. It may be they wanted to live as near as possible to their ancestors' graves and be buried near them themselves. But it makes a good point. Based on excavations, we can know the layout of the houses and the location of the graves, but we're only guessing when we try to say why they did it that way. That's the way it is with archaeology. You're dealing with the physical remains the people left behind. We have no sure access to what they thought and how they felt about things. I mean, it's interesting to speculate, and the physical artifacts can give us clues, but there's a lot we can't really know. So, for instance, their art. They painted on the plaster walls, and usually they painted hunting scenes with wild animals in them. Now, they did hunt, and they also raised cereal crops and kept sheep, but we don't know why so many of the paintings are of hunting scenes. Was it supposed to have religious or magical significance? That's the kind of thing we can only guess at, based on clues. And hopefully, further excavation of Çatalhöyük will yield more clues, but we'll probably never know for sure. Okay, we've been talking about early agriculture based on clues, and hopefully further excavation of Çatalhöyük will yield more clues.